Page 8. We're specifically now still within Reg Z talking about loans, but I want to get to closed-in credit, meaning non-revolving. This is draw the money maybe in several portions, but once they pay it back, they cannot draw the money again. It's not revolving, it's non-revolving. And what it says there is, here's a list of triggering terms in B1 letter A. Now, it's okay. You can say these things, but if you do, then you trigger those things in letter B. And again, not wrong, just make sure that you understand if we go here, then we have to go there. So closed-in credit, why? There's a different set of rules for open-in. We'll get to those in a little bit. These triggering terms, and you'll see there the amount of percentage of down. I'm going to come back to that one. Percent or the number of payments. That's the one you want to highlight, circle. If we say 30-year financing or 5-year car loans, things like that. If you mention any kind of term or number of payments, then that's going to be a triggering. It's not common that you're going to have the amount of any payment or the amount of any finance charge. Now let's go back up to that first one, the amount of percentage of down. So when you read that, it makes it sound like if we say 20% down, that triggers. But notice it says applies to credit sales only. What's a credit sale? It's not something you probably see very often, but it's where you are promoting an interest rate, if you will, a loan, to purchase something that you're also selling. So for banks, you're talking about you probably repossessed a car, and now you're advertising, in a sense, the loans to buy that car, or possibly if you repossessed real estate, the OREO, we call that. Not real common though. So this is more designed for Ford Credit, if you will, or maybe the Maytag dealer in town or something like that. It's pretty rare that you're going to be advertising rates for things that you're also selling. So that's the only time you'll see a credit sale. And the reason I'm emphasizing this so much is that we often see examiners that cite banks. They say, hey, you gave a down payment and you didn't give these triggered terms that you'll see there in letter B. The answer is we don't have to, because we're not selling, we're only providing the credit. So you can mention down payment and it doesn't trigger. And that would be something you may have to point out to the examiners. I've had to do that many times. So let's go to this. If you mention then any of those four things as applicable, so again, the triggering term probably not so much because it's not a credit sale for you, but if you had any one of those in letter A, then you trigger the things in letter B. And now you do have to give the down payment, it says. So that is, again, only on a credit sale. Number two, the terms of repayment. You have to give, basically, if you're borrowing X amount of dollars, and I'll tell you what, I'll just show you an example in a bit. You're going to give them some examples. You have to use the term annual percentage rate or APR. They relaxed that a long time ago. APR is good enough. And then if it's a variable rate where the rate can increase, you'll have to just tell them that fact. Now, again, look at B1 there. The amount of percentage of down payment, it says, applies to credit sales only. So imagine you don't have a credit sale. You're doing a 30-year home loan, 15-year home loans, things like that. Then that triggers, because you've said 15 or 30 years, that would be up above there, Roman numeral 2, the number of payments or period of repayment. I wouldn't have to give them the down payment in my disclosure because that's not a credit sale, but I would have to give something like you'll see here, 48 monthly payments, or maybe 60 payments or whatever of X amount per thousand. In fact, that's what the next few pages are about. Let's expand upon these. If you looked at it, number 2, I go into the down payment, and the Federal Reserve used to own this reg. They wrote these disclosures, and they've clarified for us that, if you say 90% financing, well, that's the same as 10% down, 80% financing, 20% down. But what's strange is they say, however, no down payment does not trigger. So even though that implies 0 down, that is not a triggering term. If we go over to page 9, the number of payments, like you can say 30 years, or maybe you say 360. Either way, that's a triggering term. The amount of any payment, the amount of any finance charge, again, not real common. So I'm going to skip over those. Number 3, now we get to the triggered, again, down payment, but only on credit sales, the terms of repayment. That's what I want to get to, letter B there. And I give that example like you see on the screen right now that tells you you're going to have to break it down into some kind of unit per month, per thousand, whatever, so that I can sit at home and say, okay, if I borrowed 10,000, then it'd be this much. That's what they mean by that. If you go to page 10, we talk about, again, the annual percentage rate used to be the requirement. You had to spell it all out. They relaxed that years and years ago. And if you look at the commentary, which, by the way, there's a tip for you. Don't ever just read the reg. Always read the commentary. In the commentary, it tells you APR is sufficient.